The Galactic Federated Empire had a problem. The void mines of Sector 7X needed workers, and fast. They had lost 3 mining teams to the extreme conditions of the stellar remnant. The High Council was getting desperate. The mines held Stellium X, the most valuable energy source in the known universe. But the death rate had reached 98% for all species that had tried to get it out. Admiral Zix Vorn stood before the Galactic Council. His hard outer shell was marked with scars from hundreds of years of military service. He was an Arthanian, a species known for their careful planning and dislike of unnecessary risks. "We have no choice but to call void mining a job that will kill workers," he said through his clicking mouthparts. "No thinking species will volunteer anymore." That's when Counselor Alara spoke up. She was a luminari with glowing skin that shifted colors with her mood. Right now it glowed a worried blue. "What about the humans? They just joined our empire last cycle. They are known for their unusual way of looking at danger." The room went quiet. Humans were the newest and most puzzling members of the galactic community. They had barely figured out faster-than-light travel when they boldly asked to join the Federated Empire. Their technology seemed to be put together in ways that shouldn't work but somehow did. The humans? Admiral Zixvorn's feelers moved with doubt. "They are fragile. Their bodies are mostly water with no hard shell, no natural defenses. But they are unusual," Alara insisted. "Have you seen what they watch for fun? They seem to enjoy risk. Maybe they will see a chance where others see certain death." With no other choices, the Council agreed to offer the job to Earth's ambassador. They would make sure to warn about how deadly the position was. Ambassador Frank Miller had been Earth's voice to the Galactic Federated Empire for 3 years. His hair was a mix of dark and gray, and he had a smile that put aliens at ease. He had become known for staying calm when faced with strange alien customs and rules. When Admiral Zixvorn sadly explained about the void mining job and how almost everyone died doing it, Frank didn't say no right away, as expected. Instead, he asked detailed questions about the pay, working conditions, and what made Stellium X special. "I'll need to ask my government," Frank said after listening, "but I think there will be interest." Admiral Zixvorn blinked all his eyes in shock. "Ambassador Miller, maybe I wasn't clear. This job has killed 98% of all workers." Frank nodded calmly. "I understand. But humans have a long history of taking dangerous jobs. Oil rigs, deep-sea diving, bomb removal, radiation work. May I ask how much it pays?" When told about the huge payment, enough resources to make a small moon livable, Frank actually smiled. "Give me 48 hours to put out the call. I think you'll be surprised by how many respond." 3 days later, the Galactic Council got the human delegation's formal answer. Over 10,000 qualified people from Earth had applied, with more signing up every hour. The aliens were confused. They quickly asked alien experts on human psychology to explain. These experts said that humans had a strange relationship with risk, death, and money. The experts warned that humans might not truly understand the danger. But when the first human volunteers arrived for their briefing, it became clear they understood perfectly. They were led by Danny Jackson, a strong man with a thick beard and hands hardened by years of work. "Look," Danny said to the stunned alien safety officer, "my granddad was a coal miner in West Virginia. My dad worked the oil fields until an explosion took his leg. Dangerous work for good pay is almost a family tradition. Now you're offering enough money for my kids' kids to live like kings? Hell, where do I sign?" The Galactic Empire's training facility orbiting the gas giant Nox was the most advanced in this part of space. It had never seen so many humans in one place before. Chief Training Officer Vekla watched with surprise as the humans took a different approach to training. Vekla was a Triborian with metal-like scales and 4 arms. He had trained many species before, but humans were something new. The first team of 20 humans was led by Lisa Carter, a small woman with short blonde hair who smiled often. She knew a lot about earth science and dangerous waste cleanup, which made her a good choice for team leader. But it was her unusual ideas that really made her different. "We need to change the spacesuits," Lisa said on the first day, which shocked Vekla. "The suits are carefully made," Vekla said with worry. They are the best protection we have, Lisa nodded with respect. And they're very good for most species. But humans have different needs. We sweat to stay cool, we need more oxygen when stressed, and most importantly, we need better use of our hands. Against all the rules, Lisa and Brad Peterson, a tall man, with clever hands and an easy laugh, began changing the suits. They took away parts they didn't need, made other parts stronger, and completely rebuilt the gloves. "What are you doing now?" Vekla asked when he found several humans putting the training suits near increasing levels of radiation. "Testing the limits," explained Kyle Duncan, who used to check safety at nuclear plants. He had no hair and was very careful about details. "We need to know exactly when and how these suits will break, not just that they'll work when everything is perfect." When the Empire's doctors saw humans pushing themselves until they collapsed during training, they stepped in. They thought the humans might be having some kind of mental breakdown. "We're finding our limits," explained Dr. Maria Gomez, the team's doctor. She had dark hair with some gray and steady hands that never shook. "In an emergency, we need to know exactly what each team member can handle before they need help." The Empire's safety rules had always focused on avoiding danger completely. The human approach, learning how to work in dangerous conditions and how to recover when things went wrong, was completely new. By the end of 3 months of training, the humans had rewritten half the safety rules, redesigned much of their equipment, and made plans for problems the Empire's risk team hadn't even thought about. "They don't just accept the risk," Vekla told Admiral Zixvorn. "They take it apart, understand it, and then find ways to work with it. It's strange, but very effective." The day before their first mission, the human team gathered for a final meal together. The alien observers watched with interest as the humans shared food, told jokes, and even sang songs. This behavior seemed odd before such a dangerous mission. "Why are they so happy?" asked a young luminary scientist. "Don't they understand they might die tomorrow?" Admiral Zixvorn had been studying humans for months now. "I think it's because they understand it so well," he said slowly. "This is how they prepare. They build bonds with each other. In human history, their most dangerous jobs always created the strongest connections between workers." Later that night, Lisa Carter stood alone looking out a viewport at the distant collapsed star that held the void mines. Brad Peterson joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "Having second thoughts, Captain?" he asked. Lisa took the coffee with a small smile. "No second thoughts. Just making peace with first ones. You know the odds, Brad. Some of us aren't coming back." Brad nodded. "Everyone on the team knows it. We all signed up anyway." "Why did you?" Lisa asked. "You had a good job designing rovers for Mars." Brad was quiet for a moment, looking at the distant void. "My brother was a firefighter, died running into a building everyone else was running out of. He always said the things worth doing were the things that scared you." He took a sip of his coffee. "Plus, the money's really good." They both laughed, and the sound carried down the corridor where Admiral Zixvorn stood listening. The alien commander tilted his head, fascinated by the human ability to laugh in the face of such danger. The mission would begin at dawn. The void mine at Sector 7X looked like a dark hole in space. The collapsed star at its center gave off no light, only gravity waves and deadly radiation that twisted the space around it. The human mining ship, named Risky Business, moved toward the dark spot with what the watching alien scientists called reckless precision. Inside the ship, Captain Lisa Carter spoke to her team for the final briefing. "Remember your training and trust your teammates. We've planned for every problem we could think of, but I guarantee something unexpected will happen down there. When it does, remember, see it, adapt to it, overcome it." The mood among the humans was focused but strangely light. They made jokes, touched lucky items, and did personal rituals. To the alien observers, this seemed wrong before such a dangerous mission, but the humans said that humor was their way of handling stress. "Beginning approach," said Joe Rivera, who used to work in search and rescue. He had sharp eyes and steady hands that never shook. "All readings match what we expected." Lisa nodded. "Launch the scout drones." The mission began with sending out special drones designed by the human team. Unlike previous attempts that tried to protect equipment from the mine's harsh conditions, these drones were made to use the environment's properties, riding gravity waves and using radiation for power. "First drone is sending back data," said Kyle Duncan from his monitoring station. "Radiation levels are as we predicted, but gravity distortion is 15% higher than our models showed." Without hesitation, Brad recalculated their approach. "Fixing our course now. We'll need to adjust the collection arm's path." The aliens watched nervously as the human ship went deeper than any previous expedition. When they reached depths that had killed entire crews before, Lisa's voice came over the radio, sounding almost casual. "Starting collection now. Brad, extend the main collection arm. Kyle, watch for radiation spikes. Maria, how's the crew doing?" "All vital signs are up but within normal range," Maria reported. "No immediate concerns." The collection arm reached into the heart of the void. It was a special tool that the humans had rebuilt from scratch. It was simpler than the Empire's technology in some ways, but somehow more durable. The first sample of Stellium X was collected without problems. Then, as expected, something went wrong. A sudden gravity wave, stronger than any recorded before, hit the ship. Alarms sounded as systems went offline. The alien observers prepared for the worst, but the human voices stayed calm in the chaos. "Main systems down. Switching to backup. Power. Collection arm damaged but working. Hull breach in Section 4, emergency seals activated." In less than 2 minutes, the humans had stabilized their ship, finished the collection, and started their return trip, with only minor injuries. As they came out of the void, the alien science ship received their message. "Risky business to Imperial observer ship. Mission successful. 1 container of Stellium X secured. Requesting permission to dock for transfer and medical help for 2 crew members with radiation exposure." The stunned silence on the alien ship was broken by Admiral Zixvorn's amazed whisper. "They did it. They actually did it." Later, in the medical bay, Dr. Maria Gomez treated the 2 injured crew members while alien doctors watched in wonder. "Will they recover?" asked the chief alien doctor, a luminary whose skin glowed with concern. "Completely," Maria said as she administered treatment. "The radiation dose was within our predicted safe range. They'll be back on duty in 2 weeks." The alien doctor's glow pulsed with surprise. "You predicted radiation exposure?" "Of course," Maria said. "We knew some exposure was inevitable. The suits can only block so much, so we designed them to keep exposure below harmful levels, took protective medications before the mission, and planned treatment for afterward." In the command center, Admiral Zixvorn reviewed the mission data with Lisa Carter. The collection of Stellium X was 3 times larger than any previous attempt had managed. "You took significant risks," the Admiral said, his mandibles clicking with concern. Lisa shook her head. "Not risks, calculated chances. There's a difference." "Explain," the Admiral requested. "A risk is jumping into danger without knowing what will happen," Lisa said. "What we did was identify every possible danger, figure out how likely each one was, and prepare for it. We knew exactly what could go wrong and had a plan for each scenario." Admiral Zixvorn considered this. "Yet 2 of your crew were injured." "Yes," Lisa agreed. "Exactly as our models predicted might happen. Their injuries were within acceptable parameters and they'll make a full recovery." The concept of acceptable injuries was foreign to Imperial thinking, but the results were undeniable. The mission was a success beyond all expectations. As Lisa left the command center, she found her team already planning improvements for the next mission. Brad and Kyle were arguing cheerfully about modifications to the collection arm, while others were reviewing the data from the drones. The humans weren't celebrating yet. They were learning, adapting, improving. The first mission was just the beginning. The success of the first mission shocked the Galactic Empire. The humans had not only survived but had gotten more Stellium X in one trip than all previous attempts combined. Even more surprising, they had done so with only 2 minor injuries, something no one thought possible. In the medical bay of Imperial Station Omega, Dr. Maria Gomez worked with alien doctors to develop better treatments for radiation exposure. The Empire's medical approach had always been to prevent exposure. They had few treatments for it because they never expected anyone to survive it. Humans have been treating radiation sickness since the 1900s, Maria explained as she shared Earth medical information. From nuclear accidents to early space exploration, we've learned how the body can recover from exposure if treated correctly. Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Brad and Kyle were already designing improvements for the next trip. We need to strengthen the collection arm with this metal, Brad explained to fascinated alien engineers, pointing to a material the Empire thought was too brittle for space use. Yes, it will crack under pressure, but that's actually good. It absorbs energy that would otherwise transfer to the ship's main structure. Admiral Zixvorn watched these interactions with growing interest. He had first seen humans as fragile and primitive, but now saw something else. They could adapt, unlike any species in the Empire. They don't try to overcome the dangers of the void, he noted in his report. They work with them, expect failure points, and plan recoveries. While our approach has been to build perfect systems, theirs is to create imperfect but flexible ones. Lisa, Carter was called to the Galactic Council itself, a rare honor for someone who wasn't a diplomat. Standing before the representatives of thousands of worlds, she appeared strangely comfortable. Captain Carter, began High Counselor Alara, your mission's success goes against all our previous understanding of void mining possibilities. What do you think about future operations? Lisa's answer was typically human. With respect, Counselor, we've only just started. That first run was careful by our standards. We were learning the environment. Now that we understand what we're dealing with, we can work much more efficiently. Careful? Repeated Admiral Zixvorn, his mouth parts clicking in disbelief. You went deeper than any previous expedition and stayed in the void 3 times longer than the safety limit. Lisa smiled. Yes, sir. As I said, careful. The humans' confidence wasn't just talk. Within 3 months, they had set up a regular mining operation with rotating crews. 6 trips had been completed successfully, with only 1 serious injury, when an unexpected gravity wave caused equipment failure. Most shocking to the alien observers was how the humans treated their work, not as a suicide mission, but as an extremely dangerous job that could be managed with proper training, equipment, and plans. My great-grandfather was a firefighter who jumped from planes into forest fires, explained Steve Rodriguez, a muscular man with a quick smile. My grandfather worked oil rigs in the ocean. My mom was a test pilot. Dangerous jobs are in our blood. After the 3rd successful mission, something unexpected happened. A Triborian engineer named Garvix asked to join a human mining crew. Are you sure? Lisa asked him. Your people are known for being careful. Garvix's metal scales rippled in what humans had learned was a sign of determination. That is why I must go. You humans have shown there is another way to approach danger. I wish to learn it. More requests followed. Soon mixed crews of humans and aliens began training together. The aliens brought valuable knowledge of Imperial technology and science, while the humans taught them their unique approach to risk. In the observation lounge, Admiral Zixvorn watched a training session where Brad Peterson taught a group of alien engineers how to quickly repair a suit in the middle of a crisis. They're not just surviving the void, the Admiral said to Counselor Alara, who had come to see the operation for herself. They're teaching others how to survive it too. Alara's skin glowed with a mix of colors that indicated deep thought. Perhaps we were wrong about humans from the beginning. We saw their physical fragility and their primitive technology, and judged them as less advanced. But in some ways, they may be far ahead of us. In what ways? Asked the Admiral. Resilience, Ilara said simply. While we've spent thousands of years trying to make things that never break, they've learned how to. As void mining operations became established, something unexpected started happening. Cultural exchange between humans and other species of the Empire. The mining station orbiting Sector 7X changed from a plain working base to a place where different species mixed and learned from each other. Other aliens, who at first didn't want to work with the careless humans, began to ask to join human-led teams. Garvik, a Sensorian engineer with skin that made its own light and natural sensitivity to electromagnetic fields, was among the first non-humans to join a void mining crew. After his first successful mission, news reporters asked why he had volunteered. "In my culture, we avoid risk by careful planning and backup safety systems," Garvik explained, his skin glowing with emotional light patterns. "But humans, they taught me that sometimes safety comes not from avoiding danger, but from knowing how to dance with it." The human way of celebrating after successful missions also caught on. The tradition of void parties, big after-mission gatherings with music, food, and various human drinks became famous throughout the sector. Even the serious Admiral Zixvorn was seen at one such party, awkwardly trying a human dance called the electric slide, while void miners cheered him on. More importantly, the mental support systems humans had set up became standard throughout Imperial operations. The idea of debriefing after stressful events, team-building exercises, and the human practice of using humor to reduce tension changed how the Empire approached high-stress jobs. Dr. Eliza Wright, a human psychologist with warm brown eyes and a talent for talking with different species, started the first Galactic Crisis Stress Management Program. Different species handle danger differently, she explained during an Imperial health meeting. But the need to talk about stress, work through trauma, and find meaning in high-risk work seems to be universal. Perhaps most important was the change in how the Empire viewed failure. For thousands of years, Imperial culture had seen failure as the same as being inadequate. The human idea of productive failure, learning from mistakes rather than avoiding them entirely, slowly took root. Lisa Carter, now promoted to Director of Void Operations, summed it up at an Imperial Academy lecture. "In human history, almost every major safety rule came after a disaster. We don't succeed despite our failures. We succeed because of what they teach us." 6 months after the first successful mission, the Empire had a problem. Stellium X was now being collected regularly, but processing it remained extremely dangerous. The Empire's automated facilities could only process small amounts at a time, limiting how useful the valuable material could be. "We need a processing station that can handle large amounts," explained a Signarian scientist, a bird-like alien with 4 wings and metallic feathers. "But the energy released during processing is too dangerous. No system can contain it safely." Lisa Carter was in the meeting and asked a question that confused the alien engineers. "Who says the system has to be perfect? Why not build one that can fail safely?" Fail safely? The concept seemed like a contradiction to the Imperial engineers. Lisa smiled and turned to Brad Peterson. "Tell them about nuclear power plants on Earth." Brad nodded and stood up. "On Earth, we built facilities to handle extremely dangerous materials. We knew we couldn't make them perfect, so we designed them to fail in ways that wouldn't hurt people. Multiple layers of protection, each designed to handle failure of the others." The Imperial engineers were skeptical until the humans showed them designs for a processing station with what they called controlled failure points, parts designed to break in specific ways to protect the more important systems. "This goes against all Imperial engineering principles," said the head engineer, a Triborian whose scales had faded with age. "But the mathematics are sound." 3 months later, the first human Imperial cooperative processing station came online. Its design was revolutionary, built not to prevent failures but to channel them harmlessly. On its first day of operation, when an unexpected energy spike occurred, the station performed exactly as designed. 3 backup systems failed in sequence, each one absorbing energy before it could damage the core. "It failed perfectly," the Triborian engineer told Admiral Zixi Vorn with newfound respect. "The humans were right." Admiral Zix Vorn nodded slowly. "They often are in the strangest ways." One standard galactic year after humans changed void mining, disaster struck. A massive space event, later called a void quake, made the Sector 7X operation unstable. 3 mining ships, including 2 with mixed species crews, were caught in the event. Imperial authorities received the distress call with sad acceptance. No one had ever survived such an event. Rescue would be impossible. The rules said they should close off the sector and consider the crews lost. But the humans had different ideas. "We're planning a rescue operation," announced Jack Williams, a strong former Coast Guard rescue swimmer, now working as emergency response coordinator. "We have a 72-hour window before life support fails on those ships." "It's physically impossible," argued the Imperial Safety Commissioner. "The void distortions are twice normal levels. No ship can survive those conditions." Jack's answer became instantly famous throughout the Empire. "Ma'am, with all due respect, telling humans something is impossible is like waving a red flag at a bull." Within 6 hours, a human-led rescue team had launched aboard a quickly modified ship named Foolish Hope. The changes broke 17 different Imperial safety rules but used lessons from every previous void mining incident. The Empire watched, in collective amazement as the rescue ship plunged into conditions that their most advanced models said were not survivable. For 28 long hours, all contact was lost. Imperial authorities began preparing official death notices for Earth's government. Then, impossibly, communications opened again. "Foolish Hope to Imperial Command," came the static-filled message from pilot Olivia Chen, her voice strained but happy. "We have survivors. All 3 crews safe. Request immediate medical teams when we arrive. Expected return in 10 hours if this patched-together engine holds together." The rescue became an instant legend. The human crew had done the impossible, finding their way through gravity distortions by manually calculating paths when instruments failed, using makeshift shields that sacrificed parts of their own hull to protect vital areas, and performing emergency medical procedures in conditions that should have made precise hand movements impossible. When the damaged rescue ship limped back to the Imperial station, with all 27 crew members from the stranded ships alive, though some badly injured, it forever changed the Empire's understanding of impossible. After the rescue, as the Empire analyzed what the humans had done, Admiral Zixvorn made a surprising admission to the Council. "We have misunderstood humans. From the beginning," he said. His usual military stiffness softened. "We saw them as fragile because of their physical limitations. But their true strength isn't physical. It's their refusal to accept limitations, their ability to improvise, and most amazingly, their willingness to risk everything to save others." In the medical bay, as doctors treated the rescued crews, Lisa Carter stood with Garvik, whose light-producing skin was dim from his ordeal on one of the stranded ships. "Why did you come for us?" Garvik asked. "The risk calculations must have shown it was not worth it." Lisa looked surprised at the question. "Worth it? You're our friends, our teammates. There was no calculation needed." "But the human rescue crew could have died too," Garvik said. "Yes," Lisa agreed. "And every one of them volunteered instantly." Garvik was silent for a long moment. "In my culture, we have a saying, 'No treasure is worth one's final breath.' But humans seem to believe some things are." "We do," Lisa said simply. News of the rescue spread quickly through the Empire. Many aliens couldn't understand why the humans had taken such risks for beings not of their own species. The concept of risking certain death on the small chance of saving others, even aliens, was foreign to most Imperial cultures, which had evolved to prioritize species survival and logical risk assessment. Human psychology became a popular subject of study. Imperial scholars began translating human concepts like "no man left behind" and "greater love has no one than this," to lay down one's life for one's friends. But it was a simple comment from Jack Williams when asked why he led the suicide rescue mission that resonated most deeply throughout the Empire. "Because that's what humans do. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien or whatever. If someone's in trouble and we can help, we help." End of story. The Void rescue operation became a case study in Imperial education, not just for its technical achievements, but for what it revealed about humanity's core nature. 2 years after humans first took on the deadliest job in the galaxy, a special meeting of the High Council was called. The topic, formally changing how humans were classified in the Imperial Species Registry. Ambassador Frank Miller, now in his final year before retirement, stood beside Lisa Carter as Admiral Zixvorn presented his recommendation. Based on extensive observation and data analysis, the Admiral began, his mouth parts clicking formally, we suggest that humans be reclassified from Class C developing species to Class A specialist species, with the description, crisis adaptive. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Such a change would place humans among the most valued species in the Empire, despite their limited technology and short time in space. High Counselor Alara spoke. The evidence is strong. In the 2 years since humans began void mining operations, death rates have dropped from 98% to 7%, and production has increased 12 times. More importantly, human methods have been successfully used in 17 other high-risk Imperial operations. What followed was unprecedented in Imperial history, a formal acknowledgement of what the Empire had learned from humans. From humans, we have learned that safety is not just the absence of risk, but the ability to manage it, Illyra continued. We have learned that humor in the face of danger is not disrespect, but a psychological tool. We have learned that improvisation can be as valuable as perfection, and that failure, properly understood, is not an end, but a beginning. The Council voted unanimously to approve the reclassification. At the celebration afterward, Lisa Carter and Admiral Zixvorn stood watching human and alien crew members mixing, sharing stories, drinks adjusted for different biologies, and comparing scars both physical and emotional. You know what I still don't understand? Zixvorn admitted privately. That first day when thousands of your people volunteered knowing the death rate. Why? Lisa smiled, watching as void miner Steve Rodriguez arm wrestled a Triborian engineer while others cheered them on. Some for the money, sure, she acknowledged. But mostly, because someone said it couldn't be done. Throughout our history, telling humans something is impossible has been the surest way to make someone try it. She pointed around at the gathered crew members, humans and aliens alike, all wearing the special void miner symbol. 2 years ago, we were just the crazy newcomers taking suicide jobs. Now look, we've created something new. Not just safer mining operations, but a whole culture of calculated risk-taking that's spreading throughout the Empire. The changes weren't limited to void mining. The human approach to risk had spread to many Imperial operations. Emergency response teams now included human advisors. The military had created special adaptive crisis units based on human models. Even the notoriously conservative Imperial Science Academy had established a productive failure division to study how controlled failures could lead to new discoveries. Most surprising to Imperial observers was how the void miners, now about 40% non-human, had developed their own unique culture. They had their own slang, traditions, and even a special greeting where they touched fists instead of using the formal Imperial salute. We never could have predicted this outcome, Admiral, Zixvorn said, watching the mixed species celebration. When we first offered the job to humans, we expected either rejection or continued high death rates. Instead, you've transformed not just void mining, but the Empire itself. Lisa nodded. That's another human trait. We're never satisfied with just surviving. We want to thrive. Later that evening, a young luminary approached Lisa. Her skin glowed with the blue of new determination. Director Carter, she said formally, I wish to apply for void mining training. Lisa looked at her carefully. Luminari were known for their caution and sensitivity to radiation. It's still dangerous work, she warned, even with all our improvements. The young luminary's skin pulsed with resolve. I understand, but as humans say, nothing worth doing is ever easy. Lisa smiled in recognition of her own words from a training session. Welcome to the team. What's your name? Illyra, the luminary said. Named after my grandmother, who first suggested offering void mining to humans. Lisa laughed and put an arm around the young luminary's shoulders. Well, Illyra, your grandmother started something bigger than any of us imagined. Let's see where it takes us next. 5 years after humans first accepted the deadliest job in the galaxy, a grand ceremony was held on the Imperial Center world. The occasion, the opening of the Galactic Risk Management Academy, the first Imperial institution built around human principles. The Academy stood as a physical symbol of how much had changed. Its architecture blended Imperial precision with human adaptability. The main structure was built in the traditional Imperial style of perfect geometric shapes, but inside were training rooms designed to be reconfigured quickly, emergency scenarios that constantly changed, and walls covered with the Academy's motto in 27 languages: success through controlled failure. Ambassador Frank Miller, now retired but invited as a guest of honor, stood beside Admiral Zix Vorn as they watched students from 34 different species enter the Academy for the first day of training. "I never thought I'd live to see this," Frank said, his hair now fully white. "When you first offered us that mining job, I hoped it might give some of our people good work. I never imagined it would lead to all this." Admiral Zix Vorn's carapace had new marks of distinction, signs of his promotion to Grand Admiral of the Imperial Fleet. "Nor did I," he admitted. "We thought humans might survive long enough to extract some stellium X before the inevitable losses became too great. Instead, you showed us a completely new way to think about risk." The Academy's first class of students gathered in the main hall. They were a mix of species, ages, and backgrounds, but all had been selected for their openness to new ideas. They would become the Empire's first certified risk-adaptive specialists, a new profession created based on human approaches to dangerous situations. Lisa Carter, now head instructor at the Academy, stepped onto the stage to address the students. Though she had gray in her blonde hair now, she still moved with the same confident energy she had shown as a void mining captain. "Welcome to the Galactic Risk Management Academy," she began. "Each of you comes from a different world, a different culture, and a different way of thinking about danger. Here you will learn from each other, and together we will create approaches to risk that no single species could develop alone." In the audience, Steve Rodriguez, now a senior instructor specializing in emergency response, sat next to young Ilara, who had completed her void mining training and become one of the Academy's first teaching assistants. "She still gives the best speeches," Steve whispered to Ilara, whose skin glowed with anticipation. After the ceremony, a special demonstration was held. The Academy's first risk response team, a mixed group of humans and aliens, showed how they could handle an engineered crisis scenario. What once would have been seen as chaos was now a choreographed dance of controlled improvisation, team members seamlessly adapting to changing conditions while supporting each other's strengths and compensating for weaknesses. "It's beautiful in its way," said Counselor Ilara to Admiral Zix Vorn as they watched. "My granddaughter tells me they call it dancing with danger." A very human phrase, but fitting. Later that evening, at the reception, Brad Peterson, now Director of Adaptive Engineering for the Empire, raised a glass in toast. Around him stood humans and aliens who had been part of the original void mining teams, now heroes and pioneers to the younger generation. "To the void that brought us together," Brad said, "and to the Empire that was brave enough to change." As glasses were raised, Lisa Carter added her own words. "And to the future risk adapters who will go where we haven't imagined and face dangers we haven't dreamed of." As the celebration continued, Jack Williams found himself speaking with a young Arthanian cadet, whose carapace still shone with youth. "Sir," the cadet asked respectfully, "is it true you once said that telling humans something is impossible is like waving a red flag at a bull?" Jack laughed. "I did say that." "What does it mean?" the cadet asked. "We don't have bulls on my world." Jack thought for a moment. "It means that humans are at their best when someone tells them they can't do something. It makes us want to prove them wrong." The cadet's antennae twitched, and what Jack had learned was a sign of deep thought. Is that why humans volunteered for the void mining? To prove they could survive something that killed others? Partly, Jack admitted. But there's more to it. Humans don't just want to survive impossible things. We want to master them To understand, them to make the impossible not just possible but routine. The cadet considered this. My instructors say that this thinking has changed the Empire forever. Jack nodded, looking around at the diverse gathering, former Void miners, Academy students, Imperial officials all mingling and sharing ideas. It has. But the Empire has changed us too. We've learned that we're stronger together than apart. Different species think differently, see problems differently. Together, we can do things none of us could do alone. Across the galaxy, a saying had taken hold, one that captured the remarkable impact of humanity's entrance into galactic society. When faced with the impossible, plan like an Imperial, but leap like a human.